Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the Sajdah Deca Fest. Today is day 6, and we are talking about doing for self. So grab some coffee, make sure you like and subscribe. We got to make this information go viral. And I'll be right back in about 4 minutes.
O Allah, guide me among those whom Thou hast guided aright, and preserve me among those whom Thou hast preserved, and befriend me among those whom Thou hast befriended. Bless me in whatsoever Thou dost grant me, and deliver me from the evil of what Thou hast judged. Surely Thou judgest, and none can judge against Thee. And he whom Thou befriendest is not disgraced. Blessed art Thou, O Lord, and exalted be Thee above what they set up besides Thee. I bear witness, nothing deserves to be served besides Thee. And I bear witness that Muhammad is Thy servant and apostle. Amen.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who in my judgment is the master historian, taught us that of all our studies, history is the most attractive, and it is best qualified to reward the researcher. History is most attractive. Why should history be most attractive? Because history is the recorded time of the human family in its struggle to overcome obstacles. There is no life that is without struggle. The Holy Quran teaches us that man, meaning man and woman, is made to face difficulties. And after difficulty comes ease. But it is history that guides us through difficulty. For if you know how people who had difficulty yesterday got through, and if your difficulty is somewhat similar, then today we also can get through if we follow the guidance of history. This is why Carter G. Woodson and many of our black giants fought for black people to know our history. Because in not knowing our history, we don't have a guide. And without a guide, we are lost. No wonder the Bible...
The secret to living is giving, because you're never going to be happy by what you get. You get it, you'll be excited for a while. For how long? But if you keep giving, you'll become something unique. That whether other people know it or not, you will know who you are. People can take away all your things. They can't take away who you become as a man or as a woman, as a soul. So business is a spiritual game. How can I do more for others than anybody else? How can I do it consistently? How can I do it better? How can I fall in love with my clients and just over-deliver at levels they can't even imagine? And develop this beautiful relationship of such joy. It isn't a transaction. There are transactions involved, but you're not doing it for the transaction. You're doing it to make that difference in their business or their life. When you're driven by a mission more than yourself, you get a level of energy that people just trying to take of themselves will never have. So my heartfelt wish for you, my dear friends, is remember what business is. It's a spiritual game. It's about what can you give, not what can you get. You'll get plenty if you'll give much more than you expect to receive. If you do that, you'll have more than money. You have a life of incredible meaning, and your life will be blessed.
And I'm saying this to all of us. Our people are ready to spend their money with their own. There's no time better than this for 6 or 8 of you to pool your money and look in the community and open up a store to fulfill the needs of our people, and we will support you. It's your time now. That's being a man. Supporting your own people that are in business. Going into business yourself. Think out of the box. What can you create that will put black people to work?
Assalamu alaikum, family. Welcome to the Sajdah Deca Fest. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are talking today on day 6 about doing for self. Doing for self. And we've had this discussion a lot on this channel. Y'all know that. Y'all know that's our theme. Let me welcome a few of you in. Welcome those of you who I see are here but are not in the chat. Thank you, thank you, thank you for joining. Thank you for telling other people. Thank you so much, because we have to make this go viral. The numbers are suppressed so severely. We were on, I think it was for the birthday celebration or my birthday anniversary celebration. And I think YouTube said that there was 2 of y'all on, but I remember just everybody flowing. I could count on the top of my head at least 50 people that I remember seeing on there. And then my other counter, because we also are broadcasting on Facebook, Facebook said that there were 165 of you guys on, but YouTube said, I think like it was 2 or 3 of y'all. So we got to make this go viral. So good morning, Sister Lubia Latifa. I see you. Morning salutations. And Sister Betty, welcome, welcome. Thank you. Sister Aurelia, may Allah bless you for the wonderful gift membership. Thank you. Make sure you like and subscribe, and you can become a member. You can hit that super chat button that's right down there in the right. You can give a gift, or you can cash app Sajdah Enterprises and give a gift as well. Sister said the best way to live is doing for self. Yes, and I want to talk about that today. I hope you all got your coffee. Y'all ready? This is still a coffee talk. We still coffee talking every morning. Jabrilla Sabira Mariam Muhammad says peace and love. Welcome. We still coffee talking, right? This is a beautiful gift I got from my family at the palace. Sister Amina, Brother Jay Baker. Brother Terrell, Sister Jamila, everybody there. I shouldn't have started naming names because I'm going to forget people. Brother Stephen. Anyway, they gave me this pretty mug, and it's a black mug. It's got gold on it. It says, all you need is love and coffee. And it's nice and big, like I like it. So this morning I just have my coffee. I got some pumpkin oat milk creamer that I'm excited about. So I have a creative day today. I'm setting my intention to really be open and receive the energy of Allah. I want to be feeling the spirit of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad as it flows, and as I honor his instruction to do for self today. So grateful. You all saw the lovely video from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan talking to us about the importance of doing for self. Okay. Sister Aurelia said the best way to live is doing for self. And that is so true. And it's tough for a lot of us to get to. And it's a challenge, right? I'm going to start with our children. I'm going to start here and talking about doing for self, because Deca Fest is supposed to be all about me talking about my development, who I am, my evolution, as a way of encouraging you. And it's, this 10-day celebration is designed to have you begin to celebrate and remember the journey to getting your ex. Let's start with the babies. Okay. When I was very, very young, I don't know if I wanted to be in business before my parents started to introduce it to me, or if I did it after. I'm not sure, but business was always a way of life in our household. Whether I went to work with my mom, and I would look at her, remember she had this desk plate that had her name on it. And I had that desk plate for a while. I don't know what happened to it, but I remember that desk plate. And I remember how she dressed going to work. And I just remember the files and the cabinets and all of that stuff. Or whether it was visiting and helping my dad and his various businesses, the horse breeding businesses, and the taking care of the horses was a whole business. Whether it was anything. And my dad it was all about in our household, what can we create to make money? I remember some goal they had. We were trying to get $2,500. Next thing I know, we was breeding the dogs, and we had to come home every day, me and my brother, and take those little puppies and feed them with the bottle and nurse them, because the female dog, she kept abusing the babies. And so this time they took the babies from her. There was like 10 of them, and they were in the basement or the garage or something. And we had to come home every day, my brother and I, and feed them with a bottle and take care of them and nurture them until they got old enough for mom and dad to sell them for $250 each. That's just the kind of, entrepreneurship. I remember somebody coming to get dad to do something. And I just remember writing out the receipt book. We didn't call my dad. I'm calling him dad for y'all purposes, but we called him Doob. Probably from my brother, because my brother used to always make up words. My brother was E40 growing up. He always made up his own words, and somehow everybody in the family just kind of adapted those words that he made up to everybody. So he started calling my mother Mimi, my dad Doob, and that's what we call both of them to this day. So, but anyway, and then with my mom bringing home the Kiplinger financial report, and me starting to study that and understand finances, and that leading to me being a lover of business journals and the economy and taking economics classes and accounting classes and things like that. And even though more so for myself, I was probably a little bit more sheltered, or a lot more sheltered than my brother was. But I'm going to tell you something that's very key. And I say this to a lot of our Muslim parents, and most of the time they just ignore it. But I'm going to give you a hint. When we shelter our children, or they're in gifted classes up to a certain age, at a certain point, we have to introduce them into the world and help them know how to navigate the world. We don't have our own world yet. And so in our case as Muslims, it's our job to go out and be ambassadors. Civilized people must teach and train others. Okay. And so that is our job, to go out and share and to show the world who we are and share our gifts with the world. Well, in order to go out into the world and do that, we have to interact with the world. Since we don't have our own universities and all of that, we have to go out into the world and go to school, go to college, get certifications, get training, and come back and bring it into our community, right? But what happens is we shelter our children up to a certain age. And what my parents did is probably, well, the whole time we always rolled with our parents. If my parents went to a concert, they went to go see Teddy Pendergrass or Peebo Bryson, or went to the Cool Jazz Festival in Kansas City, me and my brother was right there. I remember somebody one time was smoking weed at the concert. We was like, "Ooh, what's that?" And my mother was explaining to us what it was. She was showing us how to interact in the world. We would go places. She would let us walk up to the counter and order ourselves. She tells this joke she just told me the other day about how we went to a restaurant and I was young. They would just stop. We were just stopping for lunch. And I was like, "Oh, I'll take prime rib and I'll take blah, blah, blah." And I ordered all this stuff. And she said her and my dad was kicking each other under the table, like, let her order, So, and then even when we would have interactions, she would let us have conversations. I remember having some challenging conversations with some grown people who I defeated in a conversation per se. And they went back and told my mother. My point is that at a very early age, they started teaching us how to interact with the world and introducing us into the world instead of just cocooning us the whole time. That way, we had time in our growth and development for them to coach and teach and train us how to navigate the world. So by the time I went to college and my brother went to military, we were already trained on how to deal with people in the world. One mistake that I see us making today as Muslim parents, and this is no offense, is that our children are cocooned and honeycombed up until they get ready to go to college. And then we release them to college with no skills, no social intelligence, no navigation. And at that point, it's too late for us to start trying to be there with them, to coach them on how to navigate. Why is it too late? Because now they semi-grown and they having semi-grown experiences. And in most cases, that is where we're losing our children. How do I know? Because I happen to be very close to a lot of our juniors. And I'm grateful for that because I end up offering internships, or they'll come and work and help and support. And when I wrote my book, The Mind of an Entrepreneur, my intention was to write it for adults, but the children gravitated towards it. So I'm often at, the MUIs around the country, here in Chicago and other places. And I'm doing, workshops and tours and things like that for our youth. And I just absolutely love helping them. But I will tell you one mistake that we're making is that early enough, they have to be taught how to navigate the world. So if you go to a museum, Let them walk up and negotiate themselves. Let them go buy the tickets. If you go to a movie, let them walk up and give them the money or give them the credit card or give them their own and let them go up and buy the tickets. Because if that person on the other side of the ticket window is nasty, they need to know how to deal with that now. If your daughter's attractive and there's a man on the other side of that window flirting with her, saying certain things, you need to be there right now to teach her how to navigate that. If your son walks up and there's a grown woman over there and she's flirting and doing a little bit too much talking, you need to be involved in right now at this age to coach and teach and train her and him on how to integrate what they've learned in their teachings in their private schools into the world as they navigate it. Don't wait until they go to college, because by the time they go to college, I'm telling you, you will lose them, because you've not created that environment where they're going to come back and tell you things. They'll tell you some stuff, but you're not going to be involved on a transactional day-to-day basis. I'm just telling you, it's going to be too late, because you're not there on college campus with them. And a lot of us as parents ain't never been on a college campus. We don't know how ratchet college can be. Now, those of us who have been to college know. But even then, even though we've been to college, it's like somehow we have this illusion in our mind that all of a sudden, because they're raised differently, they're going to have a different experience. There's still going to be people selling drugs in the dorms. It's still going to be people involved in all kinds of sexual activities. It's still going to be people drinking, smoking. There's still going to be people cheating on tests. You have to teach, your child has to already kind of know how to be firm in who they are. And the only way you're going to do that is you got to put them in the situation. Words don't teach. They just lay the foundation. Now you got to get out there and apply it. That's what a lot of our challenge is when it comes to doing for self. If you a God and you so cold and you know so much, teach and train your child and send them out there in the world and show them how to then be the God in the environment that they're in. Show your children how when they go into school that they can be the class president. They can be the example. They can be the leader. They can be the person that everybody is looking up to. Okay, that's critical. Very, very, very important. All right. That's part of our challenge that we have in doing for self. Because we have the teachings, we have our knowledge, we have our wisdom over here, but then business and everything and entrepreneurship is over here, and we don't know how to reconcile the two. And it's because we still have a colonized mind. See, doing for self is the best way to get rid of that colonized mind. You heard Tony Robbins on the clip talk about it, talking about the power of giving and spirituality being your weapon in entrepreneurship. Your secret weapon as an entrepreneur is your spirituality. Somebody type that in the chat. Your secret weapon as an entrepreneur is your spirituality. Your secret weapon as an entrepreneur is your spirituality. But when you have a colonized mind, you don't think about marrying the two. You don't think that the two go together. And it takes a while to get that colonization up out of your mind. Why? Especially when you're smart. See, I grew up as the National Honor Society student, the gifted student, advanced classes, advancing grades, all of that. And I learned how to check the boxes. I became very good at understanding what the assignment was and getting the results out of that assignment that gave me the accolades, demonstrated my skills, and ultimately trained me to get the good job. Okay. Ultimately trained me to get the good job. Being a box checker. You hear Michelle Obama talking about that. I think on her Becoming tour, she talked about navigating yourself away from being a box checker, because that's what we're taught. Keep your desk clean, organize things, help the teacher, be a good student. And so I was really, really, really good at that. So, my mom would tell you if she was on here right now that she wouldn't even have to go and talk to my teachers. I remember one time, I always got all A's and maybe one B. And one time a teacher gave me a C. And mom said that she went and she was going to all my brother's teachers. And she looked at my report card. She seen A. She said, a C. And my mom, can be a little hood sometimes when she wants to. She said, who the gave my daughter a C? So she goes back into the desk and she says, excuse me, who is this teacher right here? She looks over. And I had one black teacher. She said, this black. She went over. She said, I don't understand what happened here. My daughter don't get no C's. What's up with this? And the lady looked in her grade book, and she was, at that time it was not computerized. She said, oh my gosh, I made a mistake. Mom was like, I thought so. And so she crossed it out and changed it and said that she would update it and all of that. And mom was like, thank you. And I remember I was standing right there and we left out because I was so programmed. I would take classes on my own in the summer without anybody telling me to. I remember doing but my mother trained me that way because she would bring me workbooks. And if I was in the first grade, I was probably getting third and fourth grade workbooks. In third grade, I was doing probably junior high, middle school workbooks. And she would just keep doing that. By the time I got to high school, it was bringing home those financial journals. And so I was trained, which is good. But by the time I decided to do for self, I could not figure out how that training didn't translate over to being able to do for self. And I said, why is it that it seems like people who didn't go to school or who maybe don't have all this training do better in business than us? What is the problem? And so I became on a mission to learn how to reconcile my training with doing for self. And it became a whole process of emotional intelligence, social intelligence, spirituality. The biggest thing that gets taken away from you when you become that box checking type of person is your courage. Most of the time, you're not making any money because you're scared. You're afraid because that authority figure, that person, that regulatory person, you're so afraid that they're going to take something from you. They're going to take your license from you. They're going to take your credentialing from you. They're going to take this or that. And so you're living in a space of fear, and it becomes almost difficult, almost impossible to navigate and do for self following that methodology. Why? And I can always see when somebody has an antiquated way of doing business, because when they're not making any money, their idea is, let me work harder. Let me hide. Let me retract. Let me recoil. Let me not do anything, because somehow they think maybe because I'm misbehaving, I'm not making the money that I wanted to. But see, you got to remember that this world structure that we're a part of is falling. It is crumbling. So if you lock yourself into a profession where it is highly regulated and you are unable to be creative or think outside the box or do more for your customers than what the regulatory bodies allow you to do, you're going to not make money. But a lot of people are going to stay stuck on that ship, and they're going to go down and sink with that ship because they're afraid to loosen the reins on that a little bit. What do I mean by that? If you're a doctor and you're working in a hospital system, I know this because my former business partner went through this, then maybe you need to go and set up an independent system, an independent business. Maybe you need to move over to holistic health. Maybe you need to move over to wellness. Yes, there are still rules and regulatory compliance that you have to go to deal with. However, you might be able to be a little bit more creative. If you're a financial advisor, or you do something in the finance world and you have a license, those people have already dictated and determined how much money you are going to make. Their data already tells them that because they got you boxed in. And the only way you're going to really be able to make the money you think that you want to make, you're going to have to maybe let go of a license or two and be more creative so that you can think outside the box and do more things, because otherwise you're going to go down with the ship. This is why you see a lot of people that and they'll have on their resume former advisor at Goldman Sachs, former advisor at so and so. You'll see that. Why? Because now they're using their financial skills in another way that allows them to think outside the box, to broaden themselves. Because no matter what you do, as long as you're under that rule or those regulatory compliance issues, you're never going to really be able to expand and think outside the box. So you got to be able to think creatively, but that requires courage, because what it means is that you got to have more faith in God and in yourself than you do in this regulatory, rule-based, box-checking environment that you came up in. That is why it's so hard for those of us that have been corporate professionals to move over and become entrepreneurs and do for self. It's the hardest for us because we have this illusionary thing that we believe that we've gained that we don't want to lose. We don't have the courage to let go of. When you see a lot of people from other cultures, it's very easy for them to say, you know what, I'm going to bet on myself and I'm getting ready to step out here. I'm getting ready to open up this business. I'm getting ready to do, such and such and such and such. They have a tendency to be more courageous when it comes to that kind of thing. Okay? They have the tendency to do that. We, especially those of us that are Black professionals, we get stuck. And then there's a period in there. There's going to be a lull in there where it's going to get rough. And it's going to be you and Allah. And you're going to have to make a decision. See, if you forget and all the box checking and all the regulations is your God, and you forget that this world is crumbling. So what you're doing is you're hanging on onto a crumbling world that the leaders in your profession, 99% of them that don't look like you, have already let go of. And so when the ship sails, who's going to be on that ship? Probably a lot of Black professionals. Why? Because we've identified and made so much of ourselves, so much of our personality is rooted in that corporate speak, if you will, or that corporate vernacular or that corporate lifestyle, that when you start talking about us doing something else, we're like, I don't see it. And I'm going to tell you something else. In that whole corporate world, the hierarchy, the unspoken hierarchy is that you're on a higher rung of the ladder than that person that's out here doing for self. I can't tell you how many of my former colleagues say, why would you do this? What are you doing? They just, and if they, even when, it's certain fields like healthcare, and I was like, no, I'm doing for self, or even in the business consulting world, I'm like, nope, I'm doing for self. They couldn't get it. A lot of us still around here trying to make money writing business plans. You know how antiquated that is? I can't tell you how many Black professional accountants and people from corporate say, oh, well, I'm putting my shingle out here. I want to write business plans. Antiquated. Why is it antiquated? Because a person may need a business model, maybe to get a loan or something like that. But here's what's happening. You can make that one-time fee to write the business plan, help them get the loan, help them satisfy the bank. But 9 times out of 10, they're not going to continue to come back to you, because the world is changing so fast that business plan is going to become antiquated in probably 3 to 6 months. It's not going to be applicable. And the banks know that. That's why a lot of them don't even require it anymore, or they just require it so that they can check a box. What you want to do, I'll give you a little secret. You want to start. I have probably around 200 different templates for different businesses in different industries. You want to have these business models that are moldable and tweakable so that you can incorporate certain scenarios in your planning process with that client, so that 6 months from now, when they look back at that model, it might be antiquated, but there's a way they go, okay, we can just tweak this, or we can tweak that. So you got to find a way to create pliable tools, not that old school. It's like saying, I got a business, I'm helping people do resumes, and I'm helping people do business models. It's not, you're not going to make no money doing that. And if you do, the couple $100 that you're going to get off of it, why waste your time? You have to find a way to go bigger and be creative and more creative. And for me, I wanted to be on the development side of things. I wanted, instead of selling real estate as a salesperson, I wanted to develop real estate. I was just talking to someone the other day who used to be an advisor, and now they're doing mortgages and loans. And that's how they're helping entrepreneurs do that. It's all kind of different things that you can do. I speak to people in the healthcare field all the time who now are saying, hey, can we sit down? I want to see if you can help me open up a wellness spa. Or let's sit down. I want you to help me figure out how to deliver certain holistic medicines to people, or create a practice that is more holistic in nature. Something that still respects what I've learned in medical school, but that also helps people in a way that, and stretches things and helps people in a way that is bigger and better than what I may have been allowed to do at the hospital or at the clinic. Those are just 2 examples. Okay. It's the same thing with engineering, same thing with architects. Old school traditional architecture has certain restrictions on it. And when you meet one of these old school architects, they start drawing stuff and putting stuff together that you can't even build. And so the biggest training and the best training for architectural students is for them to also be in construction and be in the field, so that they can understand how things are developed and put together. And they don't get caught up just living on the paper with the files, the CAD files, or drawing stuff. And they end up putting stuff together, and there's so many tweaks and changes, and they can't even do shop drawings and stuff like that. So everything nowadays is all about adaptability, pliability, being able to be nimble and being able to change. If you're still trying to put the same square peg in the round hole, you're going to miss the mark. You're not going to make money. Okay. So doing for self, what makes it so powerfully spiritual is, I think it's even more spiritual than what Tony Robbins was saying on his clip that I played earlier. It's spiritual because, yes, you're giving, you're loving, you're trying to be of greater service value. I try to offer so much service and be of such great service value that people could never replace me. They can go get another consultant, but they'll never give them what I give them. Never. They won't, because they're not going to come with the spiritual insight, the creativity. They're not going to give their all. They're going to be wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Not me. I'm going to give you more in service value than what you've offered me. And, when it's time to send you an invoice, I'm going to send you an invoice. And I expect it to be paid. But at the same time, I'm going to give you what you asked for. You're never going to question, was this worth it? So what makes it more spiritual is not only is the service value, the give, the take, the way that you're going to live. What makes it spiritual is the development of you. He said this part. He said, who do you become as a man and as a woman? And that people can take your things, but they can't take who you've become unless you let them take what you've become. That's where the spirituality comes in. In order to acquire certain things, in order to attract certain things, especially in this world, you got to become a certain person. And most people would say, but they can't nobody take that away from you. Oh, yes, they can. They can negotiate that and negotiate you right up out of who you are and take you into what they want you to be. And you're going to see your income levels dropping. When I can look at a person and I can see them falling spiritually. And I know that when you start falling, you can't see it. But I can see them falling spiritually. And I know the income is following the fall. So the income is falling. It's not coming in. It's slower. It's small. It's coming in smaller pieces and smaller chunks. Why? Because somebody, somehow, some way is negotiating you out of who you are. So when people say, okay, so, all right, so Sajdah, you about doing for self. It's mental, it's spiritual, it's financial, it's physical, it's wellness. It's about doing for self all across the board. When I'm coaching my entrepreneurs, as soon as we get on the call or I sit down with them, if we're meeting in the office or in a coffee shop or in their office, I say, did you exercise yesterday? What'd you eat yesterday? Did you spend some time doing for self, giving your heart and your stomach and your organs the attention that it needs so that it can serve you? See, all of that is going to impact your creativity. You can't say to me, okay, I'm just sitting on the couch in front of the desk all day. I'm getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I'm neglecting my body. I'm neglecting myself. I'm neglecting everything. But because I'm in the business of doing for self. You're not doing for self. You just got a job that maybe you own. Doing for self is a holistic process. I'm not saying that to make fun of anybody. I'm saying it because it's what I know. When I first started off, I was so attached to a way that was regulated by an industry that I was in that really all I had was just a job that I owned. So I was an independent contractor and I was like, okay, I'm doing for self. I got my own business, but I wasn't really holistically doing for self. And then I started incorporating certain things. I got really serious about physical fitness. I got serious about going to boot camps and CrossFit and really just challenging my body. And, I started doing yoga, whether it was Bikram or some other form of hot yoga, something that was very challenging. And through that challenge, I started to access different parts of my brain. And when I started to access those different parts of my brain, I started to become more creative. And I started reaching for creative goals that I probably would never have reached for when I was just sitting there being fat. And I started saying, okay, it's time to do this. Get up, move, make a move. Have something right there in your office if your meetings are back to back. Stand up on the side, do some squats, do some push-ups, run yourself through a quick yoga section. You got to be meditating. Doing for self is holistic, and it's a very busy job. You got to get up extra early before your clients so you can get your meditation and your exercise in. Or you got to finish early, or you got to take some time out during the middle of the day. You got to know when it's time to dial back. A lot of us don't make any money, and we're not able to do for self because we're just pushing, grinding. Money's not coming in. Let me do more. Let me press more. Let me call this person. Let me do this. Oh my God. Well, all you're doing is putting in your vibrational crawl, the fact that the money's not there. So you're going, it ain't there. It ain't there. Let me call. Let me do more. Well, maybe what you need to do is back up off of it. How balanced are you being? Are you taking care of your body? What did you put in your body yesterday? I asked one of my clients this yesterday. I said, what did you eat yesterday? She was like, what? I said, what did you eat yesterday? She's like, oh, I had a salad and this really healthy meal. And then I had this big chunk of cake. And I said, I get it. I've done that before too. I said, a lot of times I don't buy a big thing of sweets or a lot of sweets because I just end up throwing it away, because after a while I realized that if I'm eating one meal a day and I got my good vegetables and I got a good meal that I'm putting together, got me some good bean soup, and then I end up eating a bunch of sweets, then you just countered what it was that you just ate. So we were just talking, and I said, how are you supporting your body with supplements? Are you servicing your thyroid? Are you servicing your blood flow, your blood sugar levels? Are you taking care of your liver and your kidneys? Are you taking care of your muscles? See, all of that has intelligence in it. So when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us to get up and do something for ourselves, yes, a lot of us interpreted that holistically as finances and as business, but it's you can't even extract what you need out of this world without approaching it from a holistic standpoint. Are you taking care of your mind? Are you taking care of your brain? How are you vibrating? Are you talking to people that are keeping you at a low vibration? Do you listen to low vibrational music all day? Do you entertain low vibrational thoughts all day? How often are you meditating and learning and praying? Do you know I've had days where I had one day last week, I had 4 meetings that got rescheduled. And then I looked at this chunk of my schedule and I was like, oh, all right, stuff got rescheduled. So I said, all right, universe, you must want me to do something. So I made sure I worked out. For the bulk of that 4 to 6 hour time, I prayed, meditated, and studied. Why? Because I wanted to make sure that during that time frame, that extra time that I had, that I could raise my vibration and lock it in. And it takes time a lot of times to do that. But how often are you doing that? I don't feed on low vibrational music, and I'm a music lover. And sometimes, on the weekends, I may say, okay, let me put my house music on, or let me put some, old school music on. I'll do something like that. And there's obviously certain music that I like, but I'm very careful. I've gotten so attuned to high vibration that I can hear the sonic warfare in the music. I know that if you are tuning into certain types of music, I'm a Chicagoan. I love house music, but a lot of house music is very low vibrational. We can't tell because we like the beat, we like the rhythm of it, but it has it activates certain chakras that can prevent and block your creativity. I know y'all probably don't know that. Same thing with certain rap music. It's very hip. Certain music is very hypnotic. So you got to know how to use light, music, sound. I have a certain way that I'm going to illuminate my room, certain art and certain colors that I like to be able to turn and see, that are inspirational, that are helping me holistically as I'm working on doing for self. So by the time you sit down and become creative and put something together, you already in the right vibration. It's easy. You see? But if you don't do that, if you are not taking a holistic approach, when you sit down or go to your business and get ready to do for self, it's no different than you being a lost found person with a job. Now, you may be able to create some consistency out of it, but that ain't what we talking about, y'all. We talking about being on top of the universe. We're talking about doing all the things that can help influence and change the world and support our people and introduce much goods and services into the community, to be leaders, for people to look at us and say, man, you are an amazing leader. These are the types of things that we want to be able to do with our ability to do for self. All right. I'm sorry, y'all. I haven't really been paying attention to the chat. I'm going to give y'all a hint. When y'all put big paragraphs in the chat, I can't really see it because the chat is flowing. If you put like little sentences, like, somebody said, teach on that sonic warfare, or music, color, and medicine. That's right. Mother Tynetta, beloved mother. Flint, Michigan. If you put those kind of little sentences in there, I can see it. But if you put a big paragraph in there, I haven't quite mastered being able to receive my downloads from the universe, give it to y'all, and then read at the same time. I might get there later, but I haven't gotten there yet. So the big paragraphs is hard for me. Not that you can't, that's fine. But if you do that, I'm going to miss it. So thank you. I see you, Sister Monica, Sister Aurelia, 147 Savage. I see you. Thank you. Thank you. I think everybody else I shouted out. There's a lot of you all today that are not participating in the chat. That's okay. It's all right. It's okay. It's okay. Do me a favor. Make sure you like and subscribe. Hit that super chat button or give a love offering. I make sure for the financial trauma boot camp that you sign up. You can even sponsor a family. I think we're going to push the time back. I think it's from 6 to 9. It may end up being 7 to 10 because that may possibly be a travel day for me. But, there's no plans on canceling. It's just that we may push it back a little bit. Just about an hour forward. So I'll figure that out in the next 2 days, but still be on the same day. It's still the same time frame. If you was going to be on there from 6 to 9, you can do 7 to 10. Most of y'all on Sunday night is watching a program or something. Watch something productive. What do you fall asleep to at night? Are you looking at your recent gangster movie, your highly sexualized movie, some demonic movie? What are you doing? I try to fall asleep to, I'm right now, I'm going back over Theology of Time, and I usually start it at night, and I have to remember where I was when I fell asleep. But in that first phase of my sleep, my subconscious is vibrating to the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad during the theology of time. So I try to do those kind of things so that it programs me. And what does that do for me? It does wonders for my body. It does wonders for my skin. It does wonders for my mind. It does wonders for my creativity. It does wonders for how I teach. It does wonders for my alignment. It does wonders for my ability to be able to take one step towards Allah and for him to come at me flying. So it's holistic. It's all holistic. If you gotta, you know what's going on in your mind. You know what thoughts that you're having. You know it. So when you ask me during Deca Fest, man, what is your approach to entrepreneurship? Now you got some of it. All right, family. All right. Peace and blessings, family. Love, 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 love you all. Tomorrow is Unity. We're going to talk about pooling resources and collaboration. That's tomorrow morning on the Sajdah Deca Fest celebration. And tell a friend. Tell somebody. Make sure you all support. Don't be on here for free without creating no flow in your life. If you can't Cash App, if you can't hit the super chat button, then like, subscribe, and share, or do all of them. But the flow has to be there. I told you all, a lot of times, if I'm out walking, I start making sure that I can feel the flow of energy in front of me. And so I'm bringing it to myself. As I'm thinking, I'm doing like a walking meditation, a walking prayer. And it's nothing to see me walking along and I'm doing this because I'm just making sure that that energy is flowing. I'm creating that energetic bubble around me. And so I try to live my life like this. Okay. It's flow. It's all about flow. So if I see you and I interact with you, I find a way to flow. If you give to me, I try to flow it back to you, whether it's with finances, whether it's with buying something in your store or making a referral. I can't buy something from everybody's store, but can I make an introduction? Can I refer you? Can I give you some advice of something that I have that I've benefited from? Yes, I can do that. So don't just sit here like a fat person sitting on a bump on the log. And I'm sorry, I know that that's offensive to some of us, but we talked about being fat and heavy. Fat and heavy. We want to start turning some of that muscle, some of that fat into muscle, both physically and mentally. See, just like you can see somebody who gets fat physically, they can get fat in their brain as well. And what do I mean that? Fat spiritually, meaning that there's no muscle there. It can't lift. It can't move. There's no flow. So it's just, man, that's a whole subject we got to think on. It's just energy that is just stored up so much so that it needs a release. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that spiritual being fat in our brain and fat in our bodies. And we all been there. We all been there. But we got to just start saying, why am I storing up this energy? Why is my body doing this? Why is it not relieving stress? Why is it not metabolizing properly so that it's burning off? Am I putting too much food in my body at the wrong times of the day or too many times a day? Am I not moving enough? Do I need to get me some supplements that are going to help support different aspects of my health and my organs so that I'm moving my hormones and this energy around? Why is this happening? So that same thing that's happening in your body is happening in your mind. And so when it starts to happen in your body and it starts to slow you down and make you tired and the point where you can't move, you can't get up, you don't feel like it, you're just sluggish and heavy. The same thing is happening in your brain, in our brain. Okay. So your body is a sign of where you are. And so when you get that momentum going and you're like, okay, I'm feeling good. I'm dropping a few pounds. I'm moving. And I'm not saying you got to be a beanpole, but I'm moving. I'm getting my muscle mass back. I'm being uplifted. It doesn't matter what age you are. Okay. When you start saying that, then that's happening in your brain. And you should be excited to say, man, I can't wait to see what I create when I start working more on this body, when I start doing for self from a health standpoint. I got pockets of energy that I need to get out. Maybe I need to go have a lymphatic massage. Maybe I need to stretch, do some yoga, right? So I can get rid of certain pockets of energy, because energy deposits in our body and it also deposits in our brain. How do we move it out? What do we do? Okay. It's time for us to live a little, live a lot. All right, y'all. May Allah bless you. We'll see you all, inshallah, tomorrow morning. Peace and blessings, family.